Okay, so I'm just starting the session. Okay, so in the last class, we completed about the dependency injection of constructor, by using auto-wide annotation. And we understood couple of scenarios, how auto-wide annotation is going to work. Okay, when we are having one bean object or more than one bean object, as well as we understood like how auto-wide is going to work with the setter methods, as well as constructor execution also. So same examples we will try to take in Springboot also. Okay, I will take again few more examples with respect to Springboot framework also. We taken as of now everything a Spring oriented examples we taken, right? So we have to understand now Spring and Springboot programmatically both are same. Programmatically both are same. That's the point we have to prove now. Then you will get a clarity like, okay, Springboot is not a different framework which is given by someone else. Springboot is nothing but Spring only internally. But only thing is Springboot is providing some extra features with respect to project setup and configuration. Okay, that's the only difference you will see in between Spring and Springboot point of view. We will see after taking couple of examples. Yourself, you will realize like Spring and Springboot both are same internally when we are taking logic implementation point of view. Okay, so I'm just going to start Springboot. So let's concentrate here. What is a Springboot and all? We will try to have an examples. Okay, so now let's understand again what is the difference you observed with respect to core Java, and when comparing with the Spring core module. In Spring core module, what kind of benefits you observed? Especially one or two features is enough. It's not like main agenda of Spring core module. What is the things you understood or you felt like it's very easy and it's very manageable, or it's very easy to maintain the objects in the runtime level, or it's like I can save a lot of runtime memory, okay, or I can save a lot of time when I'm writing the source code. So what kind of relaxation you felt when you are working with the Spring core module? What is the difference you've observed between regular core object creation, or maybe object passing from one class to another class when comparing with the Spring core? Yeah, so the object management is becoming very easy in Spring core module or not? In Spring framework especially. Object management. So what is the meaning of object management here? For example, if you take in a scenario in core Java point of view, who has to create the object? Generally, we have to write down the logic, then JVM will create object in the execution level. Now I want same object in couple of other objects level. Like employee want address object, organization want address object, so and so other object is also want address object, and the same address object I have to share with other objects automatically or at runtime level. So as a developer in core Java, what we have to do? Yeah, so wherever we need that object, again we are manually creating object like address, new address, something like that we are creating, and we are using it. But assume the address data is always permanent. Assume this is the Naresh main ID. Naresh address is permanent address. Main campus address is permanent address. Why you are initializing the object every time? Why you are creating the new object every time? And why again you are passing? In a way, core Java point of view, if you are thinking. But if it is Spring core, who creating the object? Container is creating the object and container managing the object. By default, container, what it is doing? How many objects it is creating? How many objects it is creating for one class? Only one object by default it is creating, and wherever we want, container is injecting that object wherever we want. So what we are doing for that is, we are doing some extra configuration, or maybe we are using annotations. Container, give me this address object, like that you are using auto-wide annotation so that that object is injected into here. Now similarly, the same address object I want to use in hundreds of other objects. So in Spring core module, how much time we are saving, and at the same time, it's not only time, at runtime level, how many times the object is getting created? In Spring, only one time it is creating when you are starting your Spring Boot application or Spring application, and the same object is managed by the container and it is injecting. But if it is a core module, core Java, yes, we have to create every time. In case if you want to achieve same behavior in core Java as a developer, what we have to do? Again, we have to write down a lot of extra logic. Okay, we have to take couple of design patterns into consideration, like singleton design pattern. We have to write down our own logic to make it as a singleton bean object, or when you given a configuration like something like prototype, again it has to be created a new object. So for that you have to spend lot of time. Again you have to implement your own logic to achieve this behavior. But framework, what it is doing, it is simplifying the existing problems of the programming language, and it is providing the solutions which are used on every day a real-time application level. So that's what framework is giving or not. Now in this case, what is the agenda of maintaining objects by the container? Why Spring container came up with a concept, or Spring came up with a concept? I'm going to create the object, I'm going to manage the object, I'm going to inject the objects. This is what Spring framework is saying. What is the agenda of all these things? It's internally saving lot of memory or not? Yes, object is initialized only one time, and only one object is managed in entire JVM memory level, right? If it is a core, you have to write down, you have to create multiple times. Unnecessarily, you are creating same object multiple times, and you are wasting in the runtime level heap memory or whatever it is. So that's the reason the frameworks are getting used in real-time applications are being popular, because of all these predefined solutions where we can see lot of advantages when comparing with the programming language. So similarly, when comparing with Spring and Spring Boot, what kind of advantages you are going to see here it is. Okay, so let's compare with Spring and Spring Boot. Okay, so now I think I already provided you why Spring Boot came into the picture. Already Spring is there. When I'm saying like internally Spring is being used as part of Spring Boot. So anyone remembered in the demo level I told you why Spring Boot came into the picture? From the same team, from the same company, already Spring is there. At least one point, anyone remembered? I know I told you this. Why Spring Boot is popular? When already Spring is there. Sorry? Yeah, so kind of first thing is Spring Boot eliminating the process of configuration of dependency jar file inside the project. If it is a Spring project, generally how we are setting the project? We are just creating a Java project and then we are downloading the jar files, or we are creating, we are downloading the jar files and then we are attaching those jar files to the build path level, and then we started writing the programs. But if it is a Spring Boot, you are not going to do anything with project setup. Okay, for that Spring Boot is given a option called as Spring Initializer option. So there you will just go and you will create your project. Automatically it will add all the jar files to your project. So directly you are after project creation, you are not at all worrying about the project setup or configuration with respect to dependency jar files. So what we are doing directly, we are writing the programming based on the requirement point of view. So in between Spring versus Spring Boot, what are the steps we eliminated now? Yes, project configuration, project setup and configuration is become very easy when comparing with the Spring framework. So that is what one of the biggest advantage when coming into the Spring Boot point of view. Okay, anyway, I will take in detail. So now in this case, when I'm talking about the Spring core modules, what are the modules we have? core module, JDBC module, and JPA module, MVC or web module. Okay, or we have something like security. So these are the, we have AOP module also, but programmatically what we will use, we will try to discuss. Okay, so these are all modules available under this Spring framework. Core module and JDBC and JPA, as well as web module, security module, AOP module. Now, when it comes to Springboot point of view, the same thing they copy pasted in this Springboot. Okay, only thing they just copy pasted inside this Springboot. The entire Spring framework is available inside this Springboot, and along with this, what they added is some extra developer features. I can call it as developer features, couple of things. And there are some production, I will tell you, you will understand in the Spring Boot level what is the meaning of production and all. Production ready features, I will tell you even high level, I will tell you what is the meaning of production ready. Okay. And auto configuration of the project. So these are the extra things they provided along with the Spring framework. On top of Spring, internally they are taking again Spring. And along with that, they provided a couple of extra features. Okay, those are all just helping us at the time of development, couple of things at the time of production level, and internally it is enabling a main important concept called as auto configuration concept. So they are auto configuring the dependencies of the project. That's the concept of auto configuration. Here it is. I will come back. We will see practically what is the meaning of it is. So that means when you are learning this Spring Boot, generally people again, they will teach you entire things 70% Spring only. So it's all again 70% Spring, and only thing is why Spring Boot is got popular. Spring Boot is compatible with microservices architecture. Spring Boot is compatible with microservices architecture. So what happened, the story is Spring Boot is released in 2014. Okay, around 11 or 14, 13 or 14, around that time, maybe 10 years back only. But Spring is released into 2003, yes. So when Spring is released in 2003, 20 years back itself, at last 10 years back, why they released Spring Boot is, 10 years back what happened? Before 10 years, we have a concept called as monolithic application development. So what is that? Monolithic application development. So what is the meaning of monolithic application development? I explained this one also in the demo. Yeah, microservices architecture. Yes, good. Yeah, people are able to answer. Okay, what is the monolithic application development? Separate or together? Yes. Monolithic application development is all about I already explained all these points. The only thing is you just not remember. Okay. So monolithic point of view, what you are going to do is you are going to create how many projects? Only one project you are going to create. That's the meaning of here mono. Mono representing one, right? So you are going, for example, assume you know the applications like Flipkart, Amazon, all this, right? So assume you are writing some user module logic, user registration logics, deletion logic, address logics, and everything. Similarly, products related logic, adding the products, deleting the products, updating the product details, making the orders, making the payments, delivery options, okay, return options, customer care, chatting. So whatever it is, you are making the entire functionalities as part of how many projects? One project level. You are writing all these source codes. So here you are going to maintain a database and you are going to create one single web application and you are going to connect from this your web application to your database point of view. And finally, this is all how many projects we created and how we achieved this. I mean, how we created this application in the sense we created only one application and we written all the source code, all the functionalities inside how many projects? Only one project. We written everything here. Then after that, what happened? There is a concept came into the picture called as microservices concept. Yeah. So after that, couple of companies started an architecture called as microservices architecture. So what is the meaning of microservices again here? Yeah, micro representing small. So that means this architecture is saying like, don't bind everything under one project. Okay, all the functionalities. For example, if I am taking user, products, something like orders, order related logic, placing the order, cancelling the order, something like that. Even if you go to the payment, something like delivery, returns, any complaints, something like that, chat or whatever it is. So you are making all the functionalities as you are binding under one project. But microservices architecture is saying like, don't bind everything under one project. Make sure functionality wise, a single separate applications and enable communication between those small applications. So that means enabling communication between one application to another application in the sense, for example, in this requirement, you have a class called as user and you have a class called as order. Okay. So assume I have a requirement like in the user class level, I want to see how many orders I placed till today. Can we see this in a Flipkart or not? Can we see our order history or not? So same kind of requirement. Now assume inside the order class, you have a method like get orders Okay, so inside order, you have a method method like this, get orders, and you are taking input. Method parameter is what? Email ID. So here assume you written a select query, select star from orders, where email ID equal to so and so at abc@gmail.com. Then it is going to give the list of orders what you placed till today. Assume this logic is available inside the order component or order module level inside the order classes, inside the order level. Okay. Now, from the user point of view, you want to see how many orders you placed. So generally what you will do then, you will call this class, you will create object for this class, right? And inside the user, what you will write down? Maybe you are writing a method based on your requirement, get orders, history, something, and what you are going to do generally. So here what you will do, you will create class object something like order equal to new order, and then order dot get offers, sorry, orders, not orders, offers. And here you will pass your email ID. For example, assume user is abc@gmail.com. Okay. So now what it will do, it will give you the list of orders into this method level. Then you will send that information to front end or whatever it is. So this is how you are going to communicate between one component to another component or not in our monolithic application point of view. Now, as per microservices architecture, what they are saying is don't bind together every functionality under single project. Make sure every individual functionality has a separate application. Every individual functionality has a separate application. So that means in this case, how many functionalities we have? User is a one functionality or not? So user functionality in the sense creating user, registration of user, deleting the user details, updating address details, adding address details, adding my mobile number, updating my mobile number. Can we do all these functionalities inside our Flipkart application or not? When you open your Flipkart accounts or Amazon accounts, are you able to change your mobile numbers? Yes, we can change it. Can we able to change our email IDs? Yes, we can change it. Can we add new addresses? Yes. Can we delete existing addresses? Yes. Can we change our first name, last names? Yes, we can do that. But all these things when you are doing, when you are registering your account and you are able to do the login also or not? Yes. So these are all comes under the which functionality? User management functionality, customer management functionality with respect to Flipkart application. Now, similarly, when it comes to the products, after that, what you will do? You will explore the products. You will explore the products in the Flipkart application level. So who is adding those products? Are you adding those products? Someone else, maybe vendor applications, vendors will be available. So whoever is selling those products, they are having their own login credentials with respect to Flipkart. So what those people will do? They will add the products, whatever coming into the market, maybe assume Flipkart team only. In the background, what they will do? They are adding the product details. Today, some phone is launched. Immediately, what they are doing? They are adding all those product details from the background and they are saying like this is the amount, this is the offer, this is the photos, everything they are uploading and they are adding. Then as a customer, we are able to see that product. We are able to place that product as a order. So after exploring the products, what we are doing? Finally, we are placing a order. So exploring the products, placing the order. What is the difference between these two functionalities again? Exploring the products in the sense we are keep on exploring. We are not making any orders. But placing an order in the sense you are finalizing the product and you are making the payment. Finally, you are making the payment for the product. Now, similarly, can I say like products related functionality is similar to placing the orders functionality? No, different, 100% is different, right? Products is what? Adding the products, deleting the products. Maybe you are not doing, someone else is doing. Okay. But as a customer, what we are doing? We are exploring the products, right? Once we are making the products finalized, what you are doing? You are making the order final. So proceed with the cart and then finally they will display amount. And then what you are doing? You are clicking on the make payment. Then immediately what it is going? Where it is, what it is displaying? All the payment options. So now can I say products related logic, okay, and payments related logic, both are same? There is 100% different, right? Products is a different concept, payment is a different concept. Payments is all about credit cards, banking, your accounts, giving your net banking details, all this. Products is all about a different concept. Uploading the product details, offer details, product description, images, reviews, all these things, right? Similarly, delivery. So when delivery is coming into the picture, once your payment is success, delivery is coming into the picture. Now you have to write down the logic. Okay. So this product is placed by the customer ABC. Immediately you will receive a message. After 2 days, you will receive where that package is available, from where it is coming and how many days it will reach you. And the last day you will get that respective delivery contact or also not. The respective delivery person name you are getting into your mobile notification level. So how all these things are happened automatically happened, or the Flipkart team implemented logic? Yes, they written a lot of logic to make sure delivery point of view also. So now can I say like delivery logic is similar to or is part of orders logic? No, orders is a different. Making order, cancelling the order, that's a different story. That logic is different. Writing delivery related logic is a different. And finally, you are communicating with the customer care sometimes when you are having issues. So here also, your ID is going to the that respective customer care team or not. Yes, how these things happen? Again, they implemented the logic. So here my point here it is, the Java files, the source code, whatever you are writing, whatever the Java logics you are writing with respect to user management, product management, order management, all these functionalities are same or different functionalities. Different functionalities. Now, as part of microservices architecture, what these guys are saying, make sure all users related logic at one place, in one project or one application. Project equal to application. Now, similarly, one more project I have to create for the writing logic called as products. Products related logic. Similarly, orders. Like this, you are making how many applications? Do you have any limited, like finally you are saying like I'm going to create 5 applications for every project like that. Do you have any limited figure here? No, there is no guarantee how many applications you are going to create under the architecture called as microservices architecture. The reason is depends on the application. If your application is very small application, only something like exploring the some images or whatever it is, assume some photography application. So there are, you are going to see all these options. No, just they uploaded some products. Okay, they are just uploading some pictures with respect to that application in the entire global level. Whatever the photographers available, they are uploading their images and you are just exploring those applications. Okay, assume that is also a good application that is being used by the globally for all photographers. Now in this case, are you going to get this much, these many number of applications? Delivery, chart, returns, you are going to get? No, you are simply exploring the application. Now similarly, when comparing with the Flipkart, do we have any bigger applications? What? Net banking applications. For example, if you take ICICI net banking application, can I say net banking, ICICI net banking application is greater than the Flipkart? Yes or no? 100% yes. ICICI application is available in how many countries? Multiple, many countries. Flipkart only in India. And how many, per month, how many orders you are placing as a customer? 1 or 2 in the Flipkart level, right? But when it comes to payments, how many payments you are doing every day? Whether it is a 5 rupees or 10 rupees, it's a transaction or not finally. When you are opening your phone pay, when your account is connected to your ICICI bank application or maybe your SBI bank application, you are going to the tea stall and you are taking a tea and you are paying the 10 rupees. So whenever you open your phone pay, whenever you enter 10 rupees, that logic is going to be, that request is going to where? Finally, that respective bank net banking application or not. So in the entire per second, millions of transactions will happen with net banking applications. It's not only our payments. In the banking up, they are having banking stores. Okay, online transactions, online payments, phone, these kind of UPI payments. Okay, credit card applications, credit card payments. We have so many options, right? So can I say now, these banking applications are very complex applications when comparing with the Flipkart or not? 100%. So like that, you may have different n number of microservices, depends on the functionality point of view. Okay, so here you can maybe say like 10 to 15, depends on the functionality. And sometimes what they will do, even in this module wise or in the functionality wise, if they felt like it is involving again sub functionalities, they will again create few more applications. few more applications like this. For example, if you take my project currently, we have around 45 microservices. The current project, what I am doing, how many we have is 45 microservices. And I will tell you the application functionality. It's all about home delivery of the medicine. It's kind of Flipkart application only. But only thing is medicine home delivery point of view. Patients upload the prescriptions. Based on that, the request will be placed and the request will be routed to nearby pharmacy shop of that patient location. Okay. And then the pharmacy shop will accept that request and he will pack the medicine and he will deliver that medicine to the patient home. So this is the functionality overall what I am doing right now, right? So how many it is having? 45 microservices. 45 microservices it is having. So that means microservices architecture level, simply what you are doing in the overall, you are making the entire functionalities as a small pieces. Okay, and every piece you are converting as a small application, and finally you are enabling communication between one microservice to another microservice. Now in this case, if I given you same requirement, guys, this is all microservices introduction also. Again, I will not, this is second time explaining. In the microservices level, again, I will take these points, but I will not take again internally in depth all these points. Okay, just concentrate everything. I'm just telling you the importance of Springboot. Okay, now see here, if I given same requirement to you with respect to microservices architecture, user wanted to get how many orders he placed till today. And assume this logic, this method is available. Now in which project? Yes, orders project. Now user wants to see how many orders he placed till today. You have to write down this logic. I given this requirement with respect to user management point of view, how many orders till a user is placed. So then can you create object for the class of orders? Why? Yes, it's a different project. When entire source code is available under single project, it's all about you are accessing from the different package, creating the object, calling the method. But this time, project A, project B. Can you access project A Java file from the project B? No, there is no possibility, right? So that means, and again, these are all web applications. Whatever we are discussing, everything here, it is completely web applications only. Okay. Now then what you can do? So this is a web application. This is a web application. So you have to enable communication between one microservice to another microservice. Okay. That's all about communication of microservices concept. There is a concept. There are different ways we have. Ultimately, we will achieve by using REST services concept. REST API or REST services concept. By using REST API concepts, you are going to implement everything as a REST services and you are going to enable communication between microservices. Okay, you are going to do all these functionalities as part of the microservices here. Now, for example, if you take an use case of my current project, 45 microservices I have. 45 microservices in the sense, how many web applications? 45 web applications. See, microservice is a small application. Monolithic is a big application. All the things at one place as a single web application, dividing every functionality as a separate web application and deploying onto the server. So that means 45 microservices in the sense 45 web applications. So now what I have to do? These entire functionalities has to be available in the runtime level. Then what I have to do? These 45 web applications I have to deploy on deployment. Deployment generally where we will do? Servers. Okay. So assume what is the server we know? Tomcat. Okay, let's take Tomcat only. Now in the Tomcat level, how many servers you are, how many applications you are deploying? 45 applications you are deploying on the Tomcat server. Now I have a requirement here. For example, microservice 1 should run on port 8081. I'm just very simple generalizing example I'm taking. Just think with your common sense. I'm not going in depth also. Okay. So like this, I want to make sure different microservices should run on different port numbers. Now what you will do to achieve this with respect to server's point of view. Now now you have a Tomcat server in your computer, right? So what is the port number you are maintaining for the Tomcat server generally? 8080. Okay, fine. Now you have two web applications, A comma B. So you deployed A application on the Tomcat server, B also on the Tomcat server. Then what is the port number for the A application and B application? The same port number 8080, or for A, can you configure a separate port number? For B, can you configure a separate port number by using same Tomcat server? How? Yeah, you will change the port number from 8080 to assume 9000. Okay, then again 9000 is, so what is the URL for the A? For example, A application and B application. Assume you are going to write down localhost localhost 8080/A and followed by the endpoints. Project name will become context path. Localhost again 8080/B and those respective servlets, whatever you written, servlet URLs or whatever it is. Now you change a Tomcat server port number or project port number. In any web application level, do you have any configuration like you can change port number for this individual project? Now can I make sure 8081 and 8082 for the B application on the same Tomcat server? So where you will do the changes then? Generally, you are changing port number of the Tomcat server. Is it applicable? The change is applicable for A comma B, or is it applicable to every individual application? Like A is again having 8080, but still you change it to 9000. It is applicable to only B. Now you change it from 8000 to 8080 to 9000 of Tomcat server. You are changing port number of Tomcat server or application? Tomcat server. When you are changing port number of Tomcat server, then how you can you say that the application port number is different even though you are changing at server level? You got point? You have two applications A comma B deployed on the your Tomcat server. First question is, can I deploy more than one web application on the Tomcat server or not? Yes. Assume you written a servlets. Think about this servlets point of view. You written a project called as employee and you written /login/register, something like that. And you written one more web application called as university or something, organization, whatever it is. Here add college or something like delete college or something. You written couple of services like this. Now these are all servlet project, two web applications. Generally what you will do, you have one Tomcat server and your Tomcat server is port number is 8080 is the port number. Okay, now you deployed these applications into Tomcat server. Can you tell me the URL path for the /login of in the employee project? How will you frame the URL? Localhost immediately server port number 8080/project name or not? Yes, project name is employee/login. Good. Now similarly, if I am asking for the add college, localhost 8080/university, yes, /add/college. Okay, your application here also you are getting output, here also you are getting output, everything is executed as expected. After couple of days, I told you like now okay, leave about the couple of days. Even in the same scenario, I want to make sure employee port number as 8081, even here 82 I have to maintain. So what you will do, if I given this requirement, what you will do now, tell me? If I given this requirement to you as an assignment, what you will do to achieve this requirement? Is it possible to deploy employee and university on the same Tomcat server and you are going to get a different port numbers 8081, 8082 for different applications? Is it possible? There is no possible. Then what you will do? You will maintain how many Tomcat servers then? Yes. So what you will do? You will maintain one, you will download the Tomcat server and you will change the port number from 8080 to 8081. One Tomcat server. And in another folder, you will download one more Tomcat server. Okay, same Tomcat server. And what you will do? You will configure the port number as 8082. Please guys, that's what I am telling you. Think in the common sense. I mean, it's all about just think in the general point of view. So that's what I'm telling you. Whenever you are practicing any examples, don't feel like assignment point of view or topic wise, don't practice it. Think in the real time point of view. Okay, think in the, if I want to change, what will happen? If you want, so try to break your applications, then you will get the subject. Okay, now in the another folder, what you will do? You will maintain one more Tomcat server. Now, can I start two Tomcat servers with two different port numbers in the same computer or not? Is it possible? In the same computer? Yes. Can I start Tomcat server 2 times with the same port number? What is the error you are getting always? Already in use. The port number already in use. Error you are getting or not? So, if you are maintaining two different port numbers and you started the same Tomcat server from the two places, are you going to get any error? No, because port numbers are different. So that means you can run your Tomcat server on your computer number of times, I mean number of instances, but what you have to take care, one thing, you have to maintain different port numbers. Then you can start Tomcat server 1, Tomcat server 2, Tomcat server 3, but server 1, server 2, server 3 should have different port numbers. Now, your assignment is completed or not? Now, what you will do? You will deploy this on this Tomcat server. I mean, your employee project. Your university project you are deploying on the 8080 Tomcat server level. Now, you will start this Tomcat server. You will start this Tomcat server. Now, what is the URL patterns for the employee project and university project? 80801, I mean 8081, similarly 8082. So now your requirement is completed or not? So this is what I am asking now. So to achieve this behavior, okay, now come back to 45 microservices, 45 web applications. What you have to do when you want to bring up all the microservices with all the web applications with different port numbers, then what you have to do in your computer or in your, okay, in your computer resume in a simple terminology. What you will do? You have to maintain how many servers? 45 Tomcat servers you have to maintain. And you have to maintain 45 port numbers. That's what you have to do. And then you will, what you will do? You will deploy your application 801 on 801, 802 on 802, 80803 and 803 Tomcat server. So it is improving the complexity of application or not. So assume it's in the development stage. You want to test your application functionalities and everything. So at that time, what you have to do? You have to bring up all 45 microservices are available in the Tomcat server. Then what you have to do? 45 Tomcat servers you have to maintain your server, and you have to start all 45 microservices. That means you have to deploy 45 microservices on the 45 servers. Now assume in this scenario, if I use a Spring framework, only Spring. Okay, by using Spring, I implemented all the microservices web applications. But here also the functionality is same. Okay, Spring web application or Spring MVC is nothing but indirectly servlet application only. Okay, they are implemented 100% in the background by using servlets only. Okay, now again, even though Spring as part of microservices, I mean, if you want to achieve the microservices architecture, you use a Spring. Problem here it is, every time you have to maintain 45 Tomcat servers, okay, externally, and you have to deploy every application on the individual Tomcat server level. Now, what Spring Boot is doing, now in this case also what Spring Boot is saying, in case if you are taking the same Spring Boot and same use case, in case if it is a Spring Boot, what you have to do is, Spring Boot is saying, Spring Boot why came into the picture generally? To support the microservices architecture. Other than this, there is no much benefit with the Spring Boot when comparing with Spring. If there is no microservices architecture, there is no much difference between Spring and Spring Boot. When microservices architecture is involved into the project, when you are implementing a project based on the microservices architecture, Spring Boot is very much compatible to make sure your application development is very fast and application maintenance is also very easy when comparing with the Spring. If it is a monolithic application, which is a best? Spring only best, even comparing with Spring Boot. The reasons you will understand slowly, practically. Okay. Now, Spring Boot is saying like, definitely, when we return a web application, when we return some functionalities as part of the web application, so what we are doing in the next step, you return a web application, you return some logic, some endpoints like /user, /add delete kind of thing. So immediately what you are doing? Deployment. To make the deployment, what you need? You need a server. So you are downloading the server. Okay, let me do in Spring framework point of view, what are the steps you are doing? Create web application. Okay, you are ready with web application, that's fine. And then to test your functionality, what you are doing? Download Tomcat server. And then, yeah, you will go for the deployment. So start Tomcat server and then deploy it. Okay, let's finally you're deploying your web application. Okay, you are doing all this process every time for one application. Similarly, if you have so many applications, you have to follow this approach for every application or not? 45 microservices, 45 web applications, 40 times. Okay, downloading Tomcat server, but you have to maintain 45 port numbers and everything. Now, Spring Boot is saying, when you are created your project with this Spring Boot, don't download any Tomcat server. No need to, as a developer, no need to download external Tomcat server. But at the same time, can we test web applications without servers? Whether it is a Tomcat, WebLogic, whatever it is, without server, can we test our web applications? No, 100% you need a server. But Spring Boot is saying like, don't download any server. When you are creating web application with the Spring Boot framework, it is saying like, don't download any Tomcat server. So I will only provide integrated Tomcat server as part of project. So that means when you created a project by using Spring Boot framework of web application functionalities, so Tomcat server is by default coming inside the project itself. Inside the project itself it is coming. So that means your project, you created a web application with Spring. Boot. you created first project web application with this Springboot. So in this case, do you need Tomcat server to test all your functionalities again? No need. But if it is a Spring is similar to servlets functionality only. Like however you tested your servlets application, okay, same way you have to download the Tomcat server, you have to brought up Tomcat server, you have to deploy your Spring application on the Tomcat server. But here Springboot is eliminated what? Downloading the Tomcat server into your computer. It's eliminated the dependency of the Tomcat server, what you are downloading as a development time. As a developer point of view, or to execute the web application, Springboot is thought like every time developers are struggling with the Tomcat server, we have to give headache to the developers. Let's give Tomcat server itself contains a Tomcat server like that. Let's give a Tomcat server, integrated Tomcat server as part of the project. Like that they thought, and they given Tomcat server always as part of what? Project when you are creating project by using Springboot framework. So you don't need to download, you don't need to maintain any Tomcat server now. Now fine. Simply you are going to start your Springboot web application. Internally, it will invoke the Tomcat server what came as part of the project level. And you can configure the port number whatever you want by applying a small property. Okay, we will see all this later. Okay, don't worry. So there is a property they provided here. You can give like 8081 in the same project level. So these are all steps you are doing at under one project level. Now, when you started your application, Tomcat server is going to start on which port number? 8081. If you are not given this port, yeah, they are also maintaining default as 8080 only. Okay, 8081. Now, if I given this requirement 45 microservices, how many Tomcat servers you are configuring in your computer? Are you maintaining 45 instances, 45 folders, 45 Tomcat servers, 45 different port numbers in your computer? First of all, you are not maintaining single Tomcat server also in our computer. You are not maintaining single Tomcat server also in our computer. Then how things are happening? You created one more Springboot web application. By default, yes, it already service to microservice application to whatever you can call service to. Now again, this is also came up with internal Tomcat server. So you are going to change this port number by applying this same small property, and you are going to make sure the port number as a 8082. 8082. So, and you are starting your web application will be started, and your web application will be deployed into the Tomcat server with the port number called as 8080. Sorry, 8082. 8082. Now assume this project is all about employee project. Okay, I mean something microservices point of view you can take user project, and similarly orders, similarly products, service 3, service 4, service 5, service 6, 45 microservices. Okay, 45 names you given, 45 port numbers you are maintaining. Okay, but at development time, as a developer, how many Tomcat servers we downloaded, how many Tomcat servers we configured? No, right? But if it is a Spring, definitely to achieve this behavior, if I given this requirement to you, 45 microservices, 45 port numbers, in your computer you have to maintain how many Tomcat servers? 45 Tomcat servers you have to maintain, and you have to configure every microservice individually in the server.xml file, configuration file level, 801, 802, 8083, something like that. You have to make manual configuration. Every time you have to start how many Tomcat servers? 45 Tomcat servers you have to start. But whenever it is a Springboot is came up with internal Tomcat server. Even you are not maintaining a single Tomcat server in your computer also. So that is how Springboot is compatible with the microservices architecture. So that's the idea. Now the same use case, assume now when Spring Team, when microservices architecture is getting popular before 2000, okay, 10 or 2011 time, they thought like, if you are leaving our Spring framework as it is, people will not start using Spring framework with respect to microservices architecture. If any other company releases a framework which is compatible to the microservices architecture to avoid all these extra configuration steps and all, people will migrate to that project, people will migrate to that framework, like that they thought, and immediately they implemented, they enhanced the existing Spring framework, and they converted the existing Spring framework as a Springboot by providing all these extra features based on the microservices architecture. Based on the microservices architecture, they enhanced the Spring framework and they eliminated the things, whatever the problems we are going to face as a development time to implement the microservices architecture. That's the reason you got Spring Boot framework into the picture. Otherwise, Spring Boot is, there is nothing much use you will see when comparing with the Spring. Okay, you don't see much. When it is a monolithic application, you will not see much bigger advantages when comparing with Spring and Spring Boot, because internally the logic implementation is always common, either it is a Spring or Spring Boot. Where Spring Boot is saving your time? The project configuration, the project maintenance. Okay, these are all the areas Spring Boot is saving our time. That too, anyway, nowadays, in every organization, every enterprise application, nowadays people are following microservices architecture only. Okay, people forget about the monolithic architecture. People are 100% following microservices architecture. There are other advantages also with microservices architecture. I already told you on use case earlier. Big billion sale, I think for you only, right? So when you want to bring up, a user will log in one time, but the same user will explore 1000 products. The load on which module? Products module. So you can bring up, now see here, service 2, you are running here. Even same order or products, whatever it is, you can maintain multiple instances with the different port numbers. It's very easy with this Spring Boot point of view. You are bringing up user with one more port number, something like 9001, 9000, 9002, something like that. You can bring up the same user as a different instances, because Spring Boot is coming up with internal integrated Tomcat server point of view. So this is how the things are going to be very easy when comparing with Spring with respect to project setup configuration. But when logic implementation wise, you are going to see the same code, whether it is a Spring or Spring Boot point of view. Okay, now let's do one thing. I'm not taking any example. On a high level, how we are going to create a Spring Boot project, how simple the Spring Boot, when you are creating a standalone application or when you are creating a Spring Web application, we will just try to compare in today's session, and we will see the actual practical examples from tomorrow onwards. So now, okay, before that, so whatever the story I given you from last 1 hour, is it true or not? Let me show you. So this is what? Spring Boot official website, right? So let me open the official web page of Spring Boot. So understand the first statement of Spring Boot official web page. Spring Boot makes it easy to create standalone production, in the sense, let's think as a web application. Spring based application. So even what they are saying, Spring Boot is not something else. Spring Boot is given to you for what? Yes, to create a Spring based applications just like run. So that's what I told you here. So if you see here, yeah, when comparing with Spring, you are making a lot of things here. Downloading the Tomcat server. Okay, one Tomcat server, fine. You will download, you will immediately start it. One more Tomcat server, one more port number you want. Again, you have to do one more configuration. It is taking a lot of time. But when it is Spring Boot, Just create the project, write your logic, your endpoints, your REST services, your URLs, whatever it is, run your application just like that. A simple standalone application, like however you will run as main application. Similarly, web application also you are running on your Tomcat server just like that. So that is what they are trying to say here it is. So what they are saying, Spring Boot makes it easy to Spring Boot makes it easy to create standalone or web application of Spring based applications. They are talking again about Spring based only. So they are saying like you are going to create Spring applications by using Spring Boot, but only thing is, as a development point of view or in the runtime production level, it's all about just like run. You know it, they are eliminated a lot of other things. That's what they are saying. And go to the other points. We take an opinionated view of Spring platform and third-party libraries, so can get started with minimum fuss. Minimum fuss. What is the meaning of minimum fuss again? Why they are using that word? So, yes, third-party libraries. Now, when you created a web application, Tomcat server is a third party you want or not? Third component. It's a third. You need the dependency or not? So you are downloading. That's why you are bringing up Tomcat server. You are executing your web application, right? Tomcat server, can I call it as a third party or not? In this scenario, you have a dependency of server. That's why you're downloading. Now it is saying like, we take an opinionated view of Spring platform and third party libraries. If it is a Spring framework, you need Tomcat server or not? See, I'm telling you only one example here. Tomorrow, when you are implementing REST APIs, generally there is a concept called as JSON. Okay, we're using Spring also, you can do that. But here, you have to download a couple of jar files to achieve REST services implementations, like assume 5 to 6 jar files. You have to identify, you have to do all those things. But whenever it is a Spring Boot, by default, Spring Boot is giving those 5 jar files also to create the REST services. But today, nowadays, REST services is very popular or not? Yes, to make microservices communication, you need REST services. So that means the entire infrastructure to make a microservices applications, microservices architecture projects, the entire infrastructure by default ready-made, given by whom? Spring or Spring Boot? Spring Boot. On top of Spring, they added a lot of other third-party libraries, the other infrastructure things on top of Spring, and they packaged it and they released it as a Spring Boot here. So that is what they are saying. If you are understanding these points, they are taking again Spring platform. They are adding some third-party libraries which are being used as part of every web application when we are implementing the web services, REST services, or microservices application. They given everything under again as part of the Spring Boot framework level. So that's what they are saying. As a developer, you are taking very less amount of fuss. So that means very less effort. And minimal Spring configuration. Minimal Spring configuration you are taking here. Now, if you are looking for the information about specific version, okay, these are all Spring Boot versions they are taking. Now, see, they are talking about a concept called as features, the official websites. What it is? The first point again, what they are talking here? Again, they are talking about Spring applications only. So, what is this? Embedded Tomcat. This is what I just given you. You no need to download any Tomcat server. When you create a Tomcat server, when you create a Spring Boot application with web module, it will internally give you a Tomcat server or not? Yes. Okay. So I will come back. This point starter, maybe tomorrow or day after tomorrow, we will come back. When you are creating Spring Boot project, I will introduce this word. Leave it. Even this is also nothing but in a high level, I will give you within 1 minute. So when you created this Spring project, what are the steps you followed? In our Spring core module only, you taken jar files of 5 to 6 jar files. You downloaded jar files, you taken 5 to 6 jar files. Tomorrow, if you are working with this Spring web application, those 5 jar files are enough? No, there are other jar files you can see, right? Again, you have to take a couple of other jar files from the same folder. So that means assume you are taking total 10 jar files. Core module wise 5 jar files, web application wise core plus some other jar files, total 10 jar files you taken. Now, individually you are searching which jar file you want to for the core module. For the web module, which jar files you have? Do you have any list with you? No. If I say these are the list you have to take, then you will take it up. But if it is a Springboot, even that concept also they eliminated with a concept called as starter concept. They will give you a fill in the blanks option. So see here, Springboot initializer. Okay, two-way we can create the Springboot application. Even I'll come back that point tomorrow, how to create Spring application. Now see what these guys are saying. They given a fill in the blanks option to you. Okay, and they are saying like, okay, you want project? Okay, let's create. So internally, take Maven. I will explain you what is the Maven and all. So first take Maven. And which project you are creating? Java project. That means Spring is supported by the Groovy and Kotlin languages also. They given libraries to support Groovy and Kotlin also. Now guess Kotlin and Groovy is implemented by which language? Java only. Okay, anyway, Maven, Java you will keep as it is. Maven, I'm just telling you. Okay, Spring Boot version you are taking 3. Which Spring version we used? 5 we use. Like, you know the differences between the versions, right? Java 1, Java 2, Java 21. You know what is the version meaning. So every version will have a extra features when comparing with the old version kind of thing. You know the story. Okay, you just create all these options. I mean, I'm just showing you. I will explain every option tomorrow. Don't worry. And assume you are using Java 17. See, our project is created successfully. Okay, and let me show you this. Okay, you will download this or you will import this project into your Eclipse level. I will show you all those steps. One way you can create project from here, or you have an IDE called as Spring Toolsuit. I will give you all the details tomorrow. Just I'm showing you the how much easy when you are using the Spring Boot to make Spring applications. That's what I would like to say here. Now see here what I am doing. The same project you can create from Spring Boot Toolsuit also. You have an option called as new Spring Starter project. I will give you every option tomorrow. So, okay, don't ask me what is this and all. So, my voice is good now for online, especially. Okay, thank you. So, I'm just giving blindly some names, Spring first or whatever it is. We will understand every detail tomorrow. And I'm just finished. What I given, I just entered a project name and I clicked on the finish. Okay, I given like Spring first or done. Okay, taken some meaningful name also. Spelling mistake. It is not matter of project name. Observe here the entire folder structure. And if you observe here, what are these jar files? Spring core, Spring JCL, okay, Spring context. These are all jar files you got automatically from the project creation or not. Now tomorrow, if you want to create a Spring web application, generally I have to tell you what is the way you have to create the Spring web application. You have to create a web application project, dynamic web application, like however you will create for the servlets level, you will create dynamic web application, right? You will create web.xml, all these things. But if it is a Spring Boot, again, go here, Spring web example, something. Next. Okay, you want what? Web application. Select, they given the fill in the blank. See, what is this again? Spring web. You will come back, everything. Okay, don't worry. Spring web, next, finish it. Your project setup is completed. But if you want to do same thing in the Spring, even a 10 years experience person will take minimum half an hour. Then as a student, I know you will take 2 to 3 days. That much of steps, those many of steps is involved to set up a Spring web application project. But if it is Spring Boot, how much time it took? Just even less than 1 minute when you are having good internet connection. Okay, see here. What are the jar files? Spring. Spring hyphen web. Spring hyphen web MVC. Are you given? You are going to the right click on the project, build path, class path. Again, downloading the jar files. Are you downloaded any jar files? No. It is downloaded from the Maven repository point of view. I will give you what is the Maven option and all. Slowly, step by step, we will come back. So please make sure your system is connected to the internet when you are doing all these things. These are all things, the jar files which are downloaded or which are you are seeing from in your computer. Here it is. It's not something downloaded from your computer. These are all things downloaded from the internet in the background. So that means please make sure your internet, your system is connected to internet when you are doing these setups of projects. One time you are doing project setup and everything is good, then all the jar files will be downloaded into your computer. Then maybe net is not required. But first time when you are doing, definitely you need this. Okay. Now see, if I want to start my Tomcat server, web applications, generally what we will do? You will add a Tomcat server to your Eclipse or not? Show view servers. Okay. Observe here, do I have any server? No. Now see how I am starting my web application. Right click on the project. Generally what you will do, run on server, right? If you see here, run as Springboot application. Your application is started or not? Tomcat started with port number 8080. How much time it took to start your web application? Just matter of 1 or 2 minutes, right? If it is servlets, also think how much time it is taking to make same. You created a servlet application, you have to bring up your servlet application successfully. How much time it will take? First of all, in between it is introducing a step called as downloading the Tomcat server. That itself it will take time and you have to brought up your Tomcat server. But here, no. Now tomorrow if you want to change the port number of the Tomcat server, in Tomcat generally what you will do? You will go to the, from where you are changing your port number in the Tomcat server. Server configuration files level, right? But here, see how simple it is. Server.port 9999, whatever the port number you want to give it. Okay, run as Springboot application. What is this? 9999. Now, if you want to create one more microservice, one more web application, Spring Starter project. Okay, so let's give something web example 2 something. Next, select web. You just fill in the blanks like that. You can see Spring Web. Okay. And tomorrow, if you want a JPA module project, JPA, search JPA, take JPA. So it's just like fill in the blanks. If it is Spring, you have to do manual steps. Okay, I just take here only web. Finish it. So run as Springboot application. Now this will start on which port number? 8080. Yes, by default 8080. Internally every project is contained its own private Tomcat server or not. That's why you can see. Now it's running on 8082. Now if you see previous application web example 1, it is running on 9999. Now if you want to change this port number also in Spring Boot, simply they are making very easy. Server dot port. I mean, we will come to all these examples. Just on a glance, I'm showing you today the real advantages what you are going to get. So what is this? Now guess how much time you are going to reduce to make development of your web applications or microservices architecture. Now, how many microservices I created? 2 microservices I created. How many ports I have used here? 2. If you want to create 40, are you downloading at least a single Tomcat server? No, Tomcat Springboot is taking everything. But if it is a Spring application, okay, let me open one Spring also. Yeah, Aman, I will come back to the Spring Bean lifecycle in the Spring Boot. Okay. So just that's what I told you. 1 or 2 topics are pending in the Spring core, but the entire original, the actual generic core module is completed, but small miscellaneous concepts are pending. I will discuss those things in the Spring Boot. Then again, my idea here it is I can discuss those in the Spring also. So if I take a couple of examples again in the Spring Boot, then you will realize like Spring is Spring Boot. That's why I just intentionally left 1 or 2 topics to discuss in the Spring Boot. Then you will understand like same Spring coding we are doing in the Spring Boot also. Okay, let's do one thing. What I will do, I will discuss that point. I forgot what is the topic I taken. Sorry. Yeah. 2 applications we started, right? Yeah, Spring. Okay. Yes, sir. Anyway, it is looping. Now, for example, tomorrow, when I'm taking about creating a Spring core module project, Spring Boot. Okay. So what you are going to do? File, new. No need Java now. Spring is giving direct option. Spring Boot. Sorry. Okay. Spring core module. Only thing is boot point of view. Just give you. I will come back. Every option I will explain tomorrow in detail. How to download this, how to download STS and everything I'll explain you tomorrow. So no need to do anything. By default, it will come up with the core module. Okay, this is the project we created. Go and verify Maven dependencies. What you can see, Spring core, Spring context, Spring JCL, Spring expression. Can you see or no? So that is how Spring AOP, whatever you take in Spring Beans. These are the 6 jar files we used to take, like right click on the project, build path, configure, build path, class path, all this. But before that jar files, you have to download or not? Yes. Now, in this case, are you worrying about the jar files? No, Spring Boot is taking, that's what. Now, one more point, what you have to understand. Now tell me, Spring Boot is nothing but Spring or not by seeing these jar files. Right? Internally, they are using what? Spring. They are enhanced the Spring framework with respect to microservices architecture to enable the microservices architecture very easily. In the process of that, they came up with a concept called as auto configuration of the projects, integrated Tomcat servers, and couple of other small production features. We will see those things later point of time, like actuators and all we have. I will discuss those things as a topic level. Is there any server except Tomcat server servlets? Because yeah, there are so many other servers available, Swami. WebLogic, WebSphere, JBoss. So many you have. But nowadays, servers era is completing. It's all about integrated Tom. Now see, Spring Boot is coming up with integrate. Okay, so the market is gone. WebLogic, WebSphere at one point of time. Yeah, I will tell you tomorrow all the details. Let's do one thing. What I will, yeah. So if you see here, okay, I need to change workspace. It's a core module, your project only. But anyway, I will show you. Okay, now core module level, if you want to create a component class, what you will do? Assume student. So what is the annotation? @component. So what is this? Spring framework. Same annotation, same concept or not? Same. If you want to get this bean object in Spring Boot, I will explain everything. Just I'm showing you how simple it is. Even container also they are creating internally. You don't need to do anything. Just pick up it sys out of context dot get bean of. Can I use dot class? See here also you are having same methods or not? String name, dot class instance, something like that. Get bean a string and everything you are having or not? So student dot. So what is this? Same hash. Now if I get same object from the container, singleton object or not? Yes. So see Springboot, I'm getting second time from the container. 2 times same or not? If you want to scope, change the scope. See why I'm just showing you on high very speed is you have to get a feel like today by leaving the class. Spring you are doing again in the Springboot also. Now scope, how can I change? Prototype. Now execute same application again, run as Java application. So will you see same or different? Yes, different or not? Now tell me Spring Boot is nothing but Spring or not? Yes, they are giving like Spring Boot, they enhanced the Spring framework. Okay, so I will just close here within 1 or 2 minutes. Okay, now see here, these are all web applications. What? Okay, assume this is the web application in the Spring project point of view. Close all. If you see the jar files, I taken couple of jar files manually, okay, as part of Spring project setup. But if I want to execute Spring project, do I need a Tomcat server or not? Yes. If it is a Spring, you need a Tomcat server. So that's why what I did, I downloaded a Tomcat server in my Eclipse. Okay, what I have? Tomcat server. So the project, whatever I shown you here, Spring REST services, is it available on the Tomcat server or not? So that means manually we need a Tomcat server or not. But if it is a Spring Boot, are we downloaded any Tomcat server? You are not downloaded. But logic wise, you are also going to see same thing in Spring Boot. Whatever you written in the Spring, I will compare at that time also. Once we are reaching to the Spring Boot web application, I will open once Spring web application, what we are already given in the Spring training level. You will observe how many steps you eliminated with respect to project implementation or project setup. Project setup. Please remember this point. Spring Boot is helping us to project setup very quickly, very easily. But project implementation in the sense requirement implementation. Requirement implementation wise, the number of lines. Now tell me in the core module wise, if I given requirement like write a component class and get it from the bean context as a bean object from the context, the number of lines logic what you written in the Spring Boot is equal to Spring or not? That's what, right? Even Spring also we written at the rate component. Here also we written at the rate component. There also we written at the rate scope. Here also we written at the rate scope. There also we written like context dot get bean of dot class. Okay. So here also you are giving get bean of dot class. Okay. So same thing or not? Same singleton, same prototype scope. Implementation is same whether it is a Spring or Spring Boot. Okay. So that's all the difference. What we will do tomorrow is in Quarkus framework configuration is like this. Fill in the blanks. Yeah, I'm working in the Quarkus only. Okay, there also, yes, options are available. Starter concept, they are also having Ramesh. It is similar to Spring Boot only, Quarkus also. Okay, leave it. So tomorrow what we will do, we will discuss the way how we are creating this Spring Boot application, how many ways we can create, like website wise, editor wise, we will discuss what is STS, how to download STS. I will give you step by step how to create the project, and we will discuss each and every option tomorrow once. When you are creating the Spring Starter project via website or maybe from the editor also, you can see some options here. Okay, what is that Maven and all? I will explain you tomorrow step by step. First example, we will understand step by step what are all these options and all. We will try to understand in tomorrow's scenario. Okay, that's all. Yeah, Kotesara, you just send me an email, okay? If you have any need guidance, you just send me an email. I will take it up. Yeah, email is there in the material, Koteswara, and if you want, someone else is asking Google Classroom, Google Drive link. జస్ట్ ఏంటంటే పొయ్యలకు స్వీట్స్ అసలు మీకు అది ఇది రెండు ఒకటే అంత డౌన్లోడ్ చేయాలి క్లియర్గా స్టెప్ బై స్టెప్